Good morning, good morning. We're gonna go ahead and get started since you all have some food. Welcome to Atwater. This is our first breakfast of the new year. Mr. Roseborough always tells me that. I know I can't. But again, good morning everyone. Welcome to Atwater. This is our first breakfast of the year. We've got an awesome schedule today. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all's New Year was great. We're going to get started today hearing from our fire department, some updates, some things going on, and give you some good information there. Then we'll hear from our police department after that. So again, good morning and welcome.
Nothing really new. I don't have the numbers for December yet. I will tell you that fires are down in this area. That's good. That's really good. We did have several critical medical calls during the month, which seems December is always hard on people. And we did have several of those. But the newest thing I would tell you, starting February 1st, you'll see us fire department guys in different shirts. Our uniform color is changing. The shirt that I have on right now will not be, it'll go away, and my shirt, it'll be a black shirt and the badge will be, I guess, monogrammed in. I don't know the right, I'm not a seamstress, but embroidered, thank you. Embroidered in, and there will be no brass on it or the collar. And my name and rank will be across in red lettering. And that'll, all fire department employees or operations folks will have a black shirt. For now, you'll see when guys come with me, firefighters wear black and I wear the blue. Everybody will be the same color. The rank will be delineated out on the collar or on the front of it. Also, our normal day wear shirts, you see us on calls with the t-shirts. They're going to a black color with white lettering. Currently, we have blue with yellow lettering. Those will all go away also. We're going to look a little different. Not a big change, but definitely. What's that? Yeah. I will tell you, if anybody's ever had to, there's 450 of us, and we can't agree on anything most of the time, and trying to get a uniform selected, as you can imagine, I'll tell you a short story on that. When we had an hour conversation on the design of how many stitches on the bill of a cap and how many here, I mean, holy cow! Just give me a hat. That's where I'm at with it. But anyway, we're going to change colors a little bit. You'll see me next one that we're at. We'll have a different. This shirt will be different. So, other than that, I always try to give this update. I'm at Station 10, which is just right up the street here, 2950 East 21st. That's your hazmat station for the city. We respond citywide there with our hazmat unit and the hazmat team. We have a new vehicle that is spec'd out and being built right now. I thank Councilmember Johnson and his support and the rest of the council for purchasing that. It's an expensive machine. It is set to be delivered in September-ish. The contract was signed in November and they have 365 days to deliver. It'll be a great improvement. It'll enable us to do some things we've never done before on the hazmat team. And I'd actually thank you folks too, because that machine there is probably right around $1 million. That's a lot of money. But it should last a long time also. You're looking at a 30-year lifespan on that machine probably. Or maybe not 20 to 30. But anyway, we're excited about that up there at Station 10 because it's going to be a nice improvement for our response, not only to this area, but citywide. So with that, Brandon, I don't have anything else. Any questions? Go ahead.
I would just like to know if your uniforms are also going to have some design for women.
They do have the ability to purchase, like for pant cuts, obviously, women are very different. They can purchase pants for women.
Out of those 450 people, how many are women?
Not very. I'm going to give you a number, but I don't want you to hold me to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about commission folks. That means firefighters. We not counting our administrative staff. Okay. Obviously, there's chief snow, fire chief. But after that, we only probably have 5 to 10 women on the job. Not very many. We've always struggled recruiting women, and I think there's several reasons for that. I think, but that's how many we have. Not very high. We are lagging compared to national statistics, for sure, but not too many. And there are none out of Station 10. Now we have a women's quarters, though. All stations have a women's quarters. Go ahead.
That's Station 6. They're moving the car, one of the trucks from there, and they're gonna move it into this area where,
That is not correct. They have, Station 6, if anybody knows the one way out east on, I believe, 127th Street. It's shared with the county, the county owns that building, and we have ran a fire engine out of there the last few years. That engine has been replaced with what we call a squad, which is a smaller pickup that you see. So that occurred on January 1st. So, and that person, you ride 3 on an engine, we normally ride 3 on an engine and 2 on the pickup. That person, that was the extra, I guess you would call them an extra now because there's a pickup out there with 2 people on it. That person has been moved to our rescue team over on Station 4, which is over on Seneca. Any other questions? Councilmember? All right, thank you. You guys have a nice breakfast.
Alrighty, I didn't do this initially. This will be my last time saying elect, but Commissioner-elect Lacey Cruz is here. She will be sworn in next week on the county commission, and we are excited to have her. And as everyone else, I always invite those who cross over in District 1 to our breakfast to not only hear what's going on with the city, but also talk to you and engage with you as well. So thank you, Commissioner-elect, for being here. Next, we'll have updates from our police department. You've got a whole bunch of stuff.
Just a little bit. Morning. Good morning.
Morning.
There's some numbers. I wanted to give you guys. We are at the beginning of a new year, and so that way.
That was my fault.
Sure, it's on vibrating. From and this is some of it. These statistics are where District 1 encompasses Patrol North, as most of you all know. Some of these numbers are not solely all into District 1. So we had a decrease in robberies this year. They went from we've had 179, 176, 128. We ended up with 146 for the year, and that's for the entire area of Patrol North. Also over we saw a decrease in burglaries from 761 last year to 699. And that is, most of those are mainly residential businesses and commercial property, stuff like that. As far as the trend that we're seeing that is on the move again is auto larcenies, which if you don't know is people breaking into your cars. Just my area alone, which the area that I'm particularly for is Central, the 13th, Hydraulic to Roosevelt. That's the area that I work. We had 6 in the last week alone. Items that were taken were women's purses, computers, bags, stuff that was left visibly in the car. So once again, I'd like to reiterate to people, please make sure you're taking those extra 2 minutes to take your stuff inside. I've caught myself leaving stuff in the car, leaving bags in the car. I know we've all been guilty of it at one point in time. But it just takes a couple minutes. And out of those 6, 2 handguns were taken in those cars. So if you do have a handgun, make that the #1 most important thing you take inside. Because you don't want that out there. So other than that, we are seeing an increase again in auto thefts. We went from 368 in 2016 to 405 in 2017, and then last year we had 426, and that is just in our bureau alone. So they are increasingly, they have caught a couple people, and I'm sure you've seen it on the news on the north end of town. We got a couple people that were responsible for multiple auto thefts. But once again, it is a property crime, so you gotta stay on top of those people. Other than that, that's about it. I know I got some questions out here.
Violent crimes,
violent crimes for the year for our bureau.
And is your our bureau, when you say our bureau, you're talking just in District One?
No, no, no. These stats that I have, I didn't know I was giving this. So, these stats that I have is District 1, District 6,
And a little bit of District 2.
and a little bit of District 2. That is the North End Bureau.
Where can, if I wanted to go specifically in District One, where would I go get that information?
You can contact the Patrol North Station, or you can get with me and I can get it, haven't given the exact time. I can pull up the exact numbers for the area, geographical area, and I can pull up the numbers alone just in that area.
The reason I ask is because, we had this violence meeting a couple, 3, 4 months ago, and, the northeast sector of District One, if I'm not mistaken, accounted for a third and a fourth in one area of the most heinous crimes in this District One alone. And I just wanted to know, haven't been an analyst, and that's by default, I just wanna know if the numbers are going down, and if not, what are we doing to get those numbers? That's why I'm asking.
Okay, no, that's fine. I can give you exactly,
You don't have to do it right now,
The-
I don't wanna slow your meeting.
no, you're fine. For robberies, person robberies. From 12/3/18 to 12/30/18, compared to the month before, we have a increase of 53.8%. It went from 6 to 13. So, sorry, I read that wrong. Hold on, I read that wrong. From 11/5, from November to December, we were at 13. From December to the end of the year, we went down to 6. And so it was a decrease of 53.8%. That sounds better. Aggravated assaults, from November to December, we went down 34.1%. Burglaries, we did go down for 30%. We went from 50 to 35. The only increase we saw was 2. We saw a drive-by increase. We went from 2 to 5, which on that spectrum, being that low of a number already, that made it a 150% increase. And then
District One?
that encompasses all of Patrol North. So,
He was saying District One had a higher, and I don't think that's true.
I remember last
No,
month.
because of the
Northeast
guns.
quadrant, right? So he was picking out a very specific spot.
I mentioned when we were at that violence meeting,
Yeah,
the first one at the
uh-huh,
church, if you look at the numbers, it looked like to me that District One, accounted for a third and a fourth of the most heinous crimes throughout the whole city. And, when you're talking about, aggravated assaults and robberies, I don't wanna bash it here, cause I don't wanna interrupt you.
Yeah,
But that's what I do rather that, so
Okay,
that's why
I
I'm
remember
asking.
that, and I was at another meeting, but I don't remember.
and so I can pull the numbers, and do the District 1 itself.
Yeah, that'd be
And because a lot of these crimes are reported everywhere, but there may be certain areas, what I think they're getting at is, there's more of this certain type of crime than there is somewhere else.
Sure.
That's what I get out of what you're telling me, and I wasn't at that.
Yeah,
that
no worries,
meeting.
no worries, I'll get with you.
Okay, that's fine.
Try to figure it out.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and maybe Councilmember Johnson, you can follow up with him and provide that District One stats kind of thing.
Mhm.
And he can print it on the next newsletter that goes out, that way we're not, belaboring the point here today with you when you need time.
Okay.
But specific District One, not just, that's one of the things I've seen is that, to talk from Patrol North, well, that's not District One, and, we care about our little slice of the pie.
Oh, no, that's fine. And,
Majority of that.
the majority of our bureau is District 1.
Yes, sir, but I know I'm served by District East,
Yes.
whatever, so, it's more than just one.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely understand.
Thank you, sir.
Might just add, when you do that as an added caveat, District 1 is huge, going from Harry on over to Third and then Broadway over here. You can kind of dice it down by more located. When I say that, this area in here, from 35 over to Oliver, Hillside, kind of those areas. Also, when I see the news, I see a high concentration south, southeast. Here in, some up here by Harry, most of
Yeah, there is, if you ever watch the news, and I'm not bashing by any means, you'll notice it'll say Northeast Wichita, and you look at the thing like, well, that's not Northeast Wichita, or they'll say Southwest Wichita, and I'm like, no, that's not Southwest Wichita, that's right downtown. So, I don't know how they determine that, but.
So if you come on Monday night at 6 o'clock to our district advisory board meeting, you will get specific updates for District 1 and the different patrol areas. So again, that's Monday at 6 o'clock. We always provide that at the district advisory board meetings. We have WPD here as something new for our breakfast, so they weren't always reporting out. We've asked them to show up and just kind of give an overview, so you don't have those specifics that I know you all may want. We can work on that going forward, but this is something new. Just want to throw that out there.
I'll totally come and say hi and eat breakfast.
If you have a neighborhood association, invite your community police officer to come. We have Brian Tyrell now, or Tyrrell, and he comes and he specifically tells us what's happening in our area.
Yes.
And we have almost no crime, but he also tells us how many of the assaults are domestic violence, which do not affect anyone but the couple.
Mhm.
He spells out for us who, if the suspect was known, which then does not put us at risk, is because that was a friend of theirs that stole their car or their child. So those kind of details are vital for some of these crime statistics, so that we can really understand if that's putting us in danger or not.
If-
Maybe
if-
police officers can do that for you.
If something's putting you in danger, or there's something pertinent that needs to get out to you, it will get out, okay, if they go to these meetings. That's great that he breaks it down that far. I don't even break it down that far. If I've got something that's spiking, that's an interest and a concern to the neighborhood, that's what I let you know. I don't wanna sit here and bore you with 20 minutes and upset you and worry you about something that does not pertain to you, and I know it doesn't pertain to you. But if I got somebody breaking into a house and he's hit 4 houses, I'm gonna let you know, to let your neighbors know, to let everybody know, that's something that I would bring up to you.
I also have an email relationship with him, so he can send me, if there's something happening like that.
Yes.
He can send that to me and I can put it on our Facebook page.
Yes.
So at least those people on Facebook can see it and be forewarned.
Could
Yeah.
I ask that we be mindful of hands being raised too, because
Yes.
some people behind are waiting?
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Can you tell me what number a citizen would call if they're interested in participating in the upcoming police training academy?
Oh, are you talking about the Citizens Police
Yes.
Academy? Or, they were called this training center, and I will get you that number right now. It is.
Isn't that a county?
660
So the training center is a collaboration.
3834, and that is the number to Sergeant Kimball at the training center.
3834?
Yes, 660-3834, and he'll be able to help you with that.
Got time for one more question.
Yeah, please, yeah.
I've been in contact with Captain Pinkston about the charts that are put on police department website. They used to have a 5-year running total of crimes broken down by beat, which was very useful for citizens to be able to determine, should I make an investment in a security system? Do I need to maybe get my garage fixed to put my car in? They stopped doing that in 2015, and now they point everybody to Community Crime Map, which gives you 1 year of crimes in your area. It's much less effective. If you can get 1 year of data, then you can look at yourself and say, oh man, maybe I'm not doing that good. If you get 5 years of data showing a trend, you can say, well, maybe the administration is not doing good. So we need to have historical data broken down by beat number so that we can hold officers accountable to specific areas or bring specific spikes in specific areas to officers.
Now, the city just hired 4 or 5 new crime analysts, and they are gonna be coming out. Right now, you have officers pulling double duty. You have an officer that has to take care of a beat, as a community policing officer, then plus he also has to do the crime analyst, which is some of the stats for what I just gave you. So, once those people get out here and they get trained, I see I don't know why they changed that, I really don't, that's above my pay grade. So, I think it's a great idea, and you can break each individual, it's just a matter of, I don't know why they don't put it out, and I don't wanna
It's
speculate.
very, very, very time consuming, and your average citizen is not gonna be able to do that.
But-
Believe me, I work with data all the time. It's a very cumbersome interface. Jeff Vale is a crime analyst, and you send him an email and ask him for those stats, he'll send them to you in about 15 minutes. So the queries are created. It's just a matter of having the political will to make those available to people.
Yeah,
And it's not an individual police officer that comes up with that on the website. You may have to do that to come out here, but Jeff Vale and Pat Pinkston was making those charts himself and putting them up there as images on the website. So Jeff Vale could very easily have those updated dynamically.
Like I said, I honestly, I can pass that information on, but
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know why they did that, that's,
That's good info for us to know that info is available.
It's available if you want it, and maybe the more people that ask for it, they'll say, look, we just need to
They
make
should
this
put it out
available to
anyway.
people.
Yeah, they should go out anyway.
Good info, thank you, sir.
you're welcome. It's okay.
Alrighty, at the last breakfast, there were some folks who, gave me some history I didn't know. So I guess the District One breakfast historically was for neighborhoods to communicate and give updates. And again, I'm always happy to receive feedback. So with that, I wanted to provide some opportunity if there are some neighborhood updates or things going on. We've got about 5 minutes to talk about that, if anyone would like to.
5 minutes.
Also,
5 minutes.
5 minutes, because we've got a packed agenda. Also, I want to recognize State Senator Aletha Faustido joining us this morning.
Maybe you should say there are also the announcements at the end also, so it's going 2 times.
Yeah, we're adding in an early section because some people might have.
Remind everybody about the neighborhood cleanups that just came out to Becky Fields. Becky Fields just sent out emails like a couple days ago. Neighborhood cleanups, it's time to sign up. Get yours in as soon as possible, but after Uptown. So that you get which dates you want, okay? But get them in, because those days go fast.
So that was one of my announcements. The email only went to people who registered last year, so I will be sending it to all the neighborhood association presidents and contacts that I have. So they're as valid as what I know. So if you've changed officers or know someone that's changed, please let me know, and I will be sending that out on Monday. And it's a fillable form, as in PDF, you can fill in the answers and email it right back without printing it and faxing it now.
Oh, thank you. Oh. On the 28th of January, the Wichita Independent Neighborhoods will be having our annual membership meeting. The tickets are $25 a piece, and if you buy a table of 8, you get a reduction, it'll be $160. So I do have tickets, I see Wayne board members all through here to come about. And guys, come, I'm listening to hear about people talk about the crime and all of this and that. If you aren't a part of your neighborhood, we got a problem, and you got a problem. Come to these meetings and broadcasting your trouble is not your answer. Your answer is talking to your neighbors, person to person and door to door. And when we do that, come to this meeting and build Wynn back to where it was. At one time, we had 90 neighborhood associations in the city of Wichita that was active. Today, I think we're down to about 36. And people don't want to know, what can Wynn do for me? It's not what Wynn can do for you, what can you do for Wynn? And that's, when you do that, you take care of each other. These crime stats in District 1 are good, but if you look at it, in this area, we do work neighborhood associations pretty strong. And that's why some of the crime is going away. So please, come to an annual meeting, we'd love to have you. And the theme this year is revitalizing your neighborhoods. And Ms. Cruz don't know me, I didn't know who she was, I just saw her a few minutes ago. But she will be on the panel, she's accepted. Mr. Johnston is gonna be on the panel. And I think Mr. Meissner is volunteered to be on the panel. What we try to do is get all the newly elected people from this year or last year that was due to come out and get you, what's they take on the community? What can we do to improve? So please come out, and we do have tickets for sale. And if you want to buy a table of 8, we got that too. That can be arranged. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Trish?
Collegeville Neighbor Association president, and you know that College Hill hosts a lot of happenings at Halloween. That's gonna be changing. So, there have been staffing differences in the police, and so we're working as the neighbors. It's not a neighborhood association thing, we're just working to communicate. But the police and the people that are affected by the Halloween insanity, positive insanity, are gonna be working together to, make sure that things are happening smoothly next year, because, overtime structure, things changed, and so with the police force, so that's not gonna be able to be the same next year. So keep your eyes and ears open for what that's gonna be. We're having our meeting in the middle of January. They are having their meeting in the middle of January to work with the police and try and figure out next steps, keeping the community safe.
Senator Foster.
Good morning. So speaking of meetings, there's a meeting, I believe it's on Wednesday, but it's January 9th at the Sedgwick County Courthouse in the jury room at 6:30 p.m. And that's an opportunity for all the issues that you discussed here tonight, which lawmaking will have an effect on. Come out, please. Every year we have these, out of our 52 South Central Legislative Delegation members, senators and representatives from Wichita and surrounding areas, 52 of us, and at least about 30 of us will show up. Both parties will show up, and it's your opportunity to sign up, and you get to speak 2 minutes to us and tell us your concerns. So please come out, and at 5:30 that evening, the legislators and the county commissioners, including Lacey Cruz, we have a meeting together to talk about Sedgwick County, city, and, well, not city, but state issues. And so please come out. It's a town hall meeting, a public town hall meeting, January 9th, 6:30 p.m., Sedgwick County Courthouse, 525 North Main. Okay?
It's on Facebook. I'll find what the name of it is so that you can look at it.
Yeah, it's on my page.
South Central Legislative
It's
Delegation.
South Central Legislative Delegation.
Can you find it?
Yeah, I got it.
2019 Legislative Public Forum is what it's called.
There you go, thank you.
All right, so seeing no more hands at this time, I will hand the podium over to our main speaker who has all this great information for you, Mr. Joe Pager with Public Works.
Morning, everybody. I wanted to make it clear, Public Works is not going to uniforms. The semi-uniform appearance that I have is for the balance of my day at Exploration Place, helping kids find out about amateur radio. But enough about that, back to Public Works and Utilities. I'd like to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. This is your meeting, this is your time, so feel free to raise your hand at any time, wave it a little if I don't see it, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I thought you was ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, you ready? Go ahead, ladies.
My question is, are they keeping a good schedule of when they do the clean outs for the sewer systems in the neighborhoods?
Okay, the question deals with cleaning out the sewer systems in the neighborhoods. And then we actually have two sewer systems in Wichita. We have a storm sewer system for rainwater, sanitary sewer system for sanitary waste. Those are both on cleaning schedules. And in the case of both of those, there are federal regulations that set the frequency with which we have to maintain the cleanliness and inspection of those. Plus, we enter into an issue of our defense in terms of liability. If you've ever had wastewater back up inside your house, it isn't pretty, okay? And when that happens because it's your sewer line, it's so sad, but it's on you. If it happens because it's a city sewer line, the question becomes, were we exercising our proper due diligence to maintain the cleanliness and functionality of that collection system?
So what's the difference? The city's responsibility, what's gonna be the difference to determine that?
As to whether or not we're on our cleaning schedule. So if we've got an 8-year cleaning schedule, and the cleaning schedule depends on the type of line, the size of line, the grade on the line, so we don't have one size fits all. We try to make it performance based. if we're meeting that schedule, then we've lived up to our obligation. You know, things happen, sewer lines collapse, those sorts of things. There's gonna be people that are gonna be bad actors, and they're gonna dump things that shouldn't be dumped into their sewer system. It gets out of their property, they think they're all free and clear. Somewhere down the line, roots have grown into the sewer system, and that, what was able to flush to that point gets dammed up, and you could never catch all of that. But we have a continuous process to clean roots out, we have a continuous process to clean the lines themselves on an ongoing basis.
Are they, based on area of town, by street, block, how, you know?
We actually do it based on the network itself. Both of those networks have to be cleaned from the bottom up, because the way you're cleaning the material out, it has to work that way. So it actually follows the distribution or the collection systems themselves. So it varies from area to area. So we don't follow something that you see above ground, we follow those pipes that you don't see underground.
Just one more. Is there anything that's gonna be put in place, like some of the older neighborhoods who have, and I can say, I live here off of 11th and Hillside up there. And so those are only like 12 feet deep, so they're not deep. A lot of, I think they said a lot of other areas are like 15 or, so is there anything to say to do anything about that to make it, you know, even looking at deeper, so it, or just more cleanings, or how does it?
We generally don't change the collection system once it's in place. You know, unlike streets where we'll oftentimes be making improvements that you'll see 2-lane roads become 4-lane roads and that sort of thing. On the sewage collection system, it's basically built the way it's built to allow the extensions that it can support, but we don't go in and deepen sewers. Okay. A sewer line has a certain depth when it's put in, properties are developed based on that depth. Now, if there's a problem area, we could certainly look at it, not saying that we wouldn't do it, but as a normal practice, that gravity is what gravity is, the lines are laid the way they're laid, properties are developed based on those line levels. Yes?
Is there a lead level test in our water? Do we have a test that's done annually, or is it done?
Okay, the question concerns lead in the potable water, the drinking water. We have requirements, again, federal and state requirements, and some of those chemistries, lead being one of the contaminants of great concern, of course, some of those contaminants are monitored on an annual basis. Some of them are monitored on a monthly basis, some on a daily, some on an hourly, and some on continuous chart monitors or continuous monitoring basis. In the case of lead in particular, we have tests that look for lead itself, but we also have tests that look at the water chemistry, because the water chemistry determines whether or not lead that's out in the system can actually become mobile, run with the water, and have people consuming it. So the chemistries that we look at for the water chemistry itself are actually as important or more important than the lead measurement itself, but we do measure both of those.
Do you have any kind of report that you put out on?
Yes, absolutely, and that's on our website, wichita.gov, and it's called our Consumer Confidence Report. It's on the Public Works, Water and Utilities, and that Consumer Confidence Report is an annual report, and that will publish for a whole bunch of different contaminants, how much we measured, what the exposure limit is, and therefore we'll be able to see how we compare to that exposure.
Last question, the water rates are going up, and are we gonna build this water facility, or it's just in planning? But the rates are going up ahead of whether we're gonna do it.
So I'll touch on that at the end.
All right, stay tuned. We'll get good breakfast, because you're gonna wanna stay for the end now. This table's used up their time, so I'm gonna go to the middle table. Yes, ma'am?
I might be going off into the weeds, but can you help me, because I've got more calls about people being put into the flood zone. And I was under the assumption that when they went through, when Burlington Northern merged with Santa Fe, they went through and paved that canal and lowered it which was supposed to lower their floodplain. They went through in 2010, and now they're saying all these homes have to have flood insurance in order to have anything done to them. You know, flood insurance is cost prohibitive, so people are electing not to take it. In order to fight that, they want you to do it individually, which is cost prohibitive. So, how do we fight that as a neighborhood to say, that's not right, and they're saying it's based off of topography, but yet and still they lowered the floodplain, and it's based off of a 500-year flood that we've never had, and you're punishing people for flood insurance that can't afford it. So, what do we do if you can help us to try to alleviate some of this madness that FEMA has come through and injected in the neighborhood?
I thought I was gonna get some more help, but you always wanna let the boss talk, if the boss wants to talk, so.
You got it?
All
I'd
right.
like to fight as a
Well-
neighborhood and not just individually, because it takes $10,000 individually to fight it, and that doesn't mean you're gonna win.
Well, and I understand you've got a lot of editorial content in your question, okay, and I respect that. But the flood maps will change over time because we'll get better information. We'll make changes, such as the lowering of drainage structures and those sorts of things. Those are changes that are made. Plus, we have better topography information. We have finer resolution, and we can get better numbers. When people move out of the floodplain or into the floodplain, they didn't move, and the floodplain didn't move. It's the mapping that changed. Okay, it's our understanding, our estimation, our measurements that have caused those lines to move. So Mother Nature didn't change and you didn't move. And so if you move in or out of a floodplain, what that means is those maps changed, and those maps changed based on the latest information we have. 100-year flood sounds like, hey, as long as I don't live to be 100, I'll be okay. All right, you gotta be real careful. It's not a 100-year flood, it's a 1% probability. Every year, there's a 1% probability that it's gonna happen, so it almost certainly isn't gonna happen. But of course, the consequences are very high. So in terms of $10,000 to get out of it, I wanna be in that business. It doesn't cost $10,000 to get out of it, and it's true you don't know, because when the maps show a particular property is in the floodplain, if you wanna hire a survey to be done to determine for your structure on your lot whether or not you should be impacted by the flood insurance, you can do that. But again, if the maps move and you're not required to have flood insurance, that doesn't mean that you won't flood. You can't go to FEMA and say, excuse me, the map says I'm not gonna flood, so get this water out of my house. So you wanna use the information that's in those maps. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, this is concerning the streets.
Okay? We can come above ground for a minute.
I noticed that you've done quite a bit on some repairs, redoing a lot of work that you have messed up in the first place by putting these little things on the streets. Like on 13th, you started doing these on a lot of in our neighborhood. I live in the Matlock Heights Neighborhood Association, and a lot of them in the Kenmore. You have put all of these little things, you went around and dug these little holes and put paste on it and did this and that, which I did talk to someone at the city, and they did come back and redo some of ours in the Matlock. But you have much over in the Kenmore area, and they have no association. These streets are so bad, even though I travel through them. And I've messed up my car a lot of times on these streets. We seriously need to look at our streets, and I noticed that after you did 13th from Woodlawn to almost Edgemore, you just had to redo the whole thing again, because I'm just saying, why don't we just do the streets right the first place and stop going in patching all these streets? We're spending unnecessary money. I have said this over and over to them again, because my car has gotten messed up from our streets. And I know they told me to come down there and do it, but you know, how can
answer was embedded in the question. I hope everybody caught that. First of all, I want to talk about the fact that streets are expensive. We've got 5,000 lane miles of streets in Wichita. That would be a 2-lane road from Wichita, Kansas to Disneyland, okay? There's a lot of paved surfaces that are in our community. Pavement is a relatively long-lived asset if it gets proper care over its lifetime, like most assets, okay? When you don't get that done, then you gotta do the restoration. If you don't paint your house, plan on buying siding at some point, because if you don't keep paint on the house, the siding's gonna fail, it's gonna have to be replaced. I will tell you that the city council in the last few years has really faced a dilemma when it came to streets. Streets always need care. They're a long-term problem and they're a long-term solution, but oftentimes the budget challenges the city faces are this next year's budget's gotta get balanced. So for a lot of years, we put money into a budget proposed for street maintenance, only to see it get cut because we couldn't afford it and had to balance the budget. In recent years, the council's made a tremendous commitment to say we can't go on like that. We're past living on borrowed time. And they have been increasing the funding levels significantly for the entire city, including this district. So whereas we used to have a few numbers, I'm not the police department, I can't give you my laptop version, so I'll give you my paper version. A few numbers. We used to spend about $6 million a year. Hey, that sounds like Publishers Clearinghouse. I just won, that's a lot of money, good deal. Problem's out. It's not enough, okay? Especially when we were cutting the $6 million or $2 million or $3 million to get the budget to balance, okay? But in 14, we went from 6.5 million in 13 to 8.5 million. We've been going to 8.5 million through 18. In 19, we were gonna go to 10.5 million, but budget realities have caused that to be 9.5 million. But it's still a lot more money than we used to be spending. It's a long-term commitment that the council has made. And I'll tell you, city manager now has a rule, and we gotta balance the budget. Don't put streets in the crosshair. That's not doing anybody a service over the long term. The other thing I want you to think about is when we sold the Hyatt Hotel, and the council had a one-time infusion of cash to be able to spend, they committed a significant amount of that, $10 million, half proceeds from that sale, over a 2-year period, $5 million a year, specifically to do additional work. Now, if you want to see the who, what, and where, and when, we've got those maps on our website, wichita.gov, and Public Works and Utilities. You can zoom in on the map and see what we're doing in what areas and what our plan is this year, what our plan was last year, those sorts of information. Okay, I'm gonna try the third table, then I'll come back around and catch you next, sir. It's just my peripheral vision is so bad, I wanna see if there's any hands up over there. Okay, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right, no, that's right.
I live in an area that tends to get rainwater flooding. And there's even streets in not in my neighborhood, but in my area that, people buy kayaks to, I think you might know the street I'm talking about.
Likely.
Right? So.
Luckily from the Latin root for, uh-oh.
Right, so anyway, and there's some streets in my neighborhood as well that when it's a real gully washer, you know not to go there. And I just wondered if there were, plans, and I get plans equal money, so I'm not, but I'm just wondering if there are plans long-term to have that be addressed so that we're not, so we're not having teenagers who don't think about gully washers and flooded streets get swept away on a really bad street.
Absolutely. When it comes to storm sewers and storm sewer sizing, that is something that as we make street improvements, we almost always touch the storm sewer system as a part of that project. So you think about where the cones are, where you dodging the construction above ground, but we're doing a lot of drainage work underground at the same time. That having been said, people have to realize that when we design for a certain frequency of rain, just like the 100-year flood we designed for a 25-year, 25-minute rain event. When we get rain events that exceed that, it's gonna take a while for the system to drain. Now, a while might be 2 hours, and on the grand scheme of things over the course of a year, that sounds like a pretty good outcome. But when it's your teenager that's trying to get home after an event, and it's dark, and the water's high, it's not very desirable. That having been said, the other thing that people don't really realize is when you see water in the streets because there's torrential rain, that's the way we designed it. We intended the water to be in the streets and not in the properties, right? So to keep your properties dry, we're using the street as a temporary storage reservoir as our system then drains it out. That having been said, I'm not sure that in the future, and I don't want this to go all Agenda 21 or anywhere, but I'm not sure in the future whether we may not see more severe short-term duration precipitation events that might actually change our engineering standards over the course of time. Well, that's great, we'll change the engineering standards, but it'll take a long time to build our way through that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Has the repair standard changed? We see Woodlawn 13th area went to the cutouts as the repair method. 13th Street is now cutouts with an overlay, and maybe 21st and Woodlawn area will get an overlay with their cutouts.
Yeah, that's the way we do different streets different ways depends on how many voted for the council member at the last election. All right, no, seriously, let me talk about that for a second, because you're right, you're seeing things you never saw before. You might have been born and raised in Wichita, and if you were born and raised in Wichita until 5 or 6 years ago, we just let streets get bad, and then we rebuilt them nearly or completely, all right? And then when it was new, it was like, oh, this is just like a brand new part of town. This street is wonderful. And my grandchildren will get to see when we do it again, you know, because it'll deteriorate, it'll be dead for a long time, and then they'll have a point where they'll say, this street is wonderful. We have moved away from that to an approach of trying to stretch our dollars further, because not only do we need more money, we need to make sure we're spending the existing and the new money wisely. So when you see patchwork being done, it is to maintain or extend the life of that existing pavement to avoid that very expensive mill and overlay, that near reconstruction of the street. So we're trying to, if you will, put better quality Band-Aids and baling wire to get the streets to last longer. Gravity's on our side. If we can keep moisture out, we can live longer with those streets. So the patchwork, depending on how much patchwork we have to do, if we patch the failed areas, then the street is back into full functionality. But if we patch, and there are so many patch seams that we go with an overlay, then if we get to a point where that makes sense, because that's also going to further extend the pavement line. Okay? There's a question over here. Oh, Senator, sorry, Senator Trump.
So just to follow up on the gentleman's question.
Yes.
So when you're doing the different work, road work throughout the District 1 particularly, but so what, I have a series of pictures on my phone that I went around to every work site in the District 1. I didn't have anything else to do that day. But I took pictures of every site where road work was being done. And if you could please help with this. So, for an example, right there on 9th and Madison, near the 9th Street Health Department, you know, it looks like a war zone there. And so even when you exit off of I-35, 9th Street, near the KU Med Center, I had to call the city to get a sign posted by when you get to the stop sign, when you turn right, going west, east, to simply say, road work is ahead. And right there on 9th and Grove, if you're coming from Central, going north on Grove, it's like you don't know that you're coming to road work until you're right up on it. And then the city bus doesn't stop there because of this road work, and it's no indication that there's road work going on in certain inner cities area of District 1, and that bothers me. So I drive around to every other place on the outer areas, and you can clearly see Like, so I live near 13th and Woodlawn. So when I'm going that way, I can clearly see that there is road work ahead. There's several signs, road work ahead. And so I want you to talk to whoever it is, those construction people, whoever, to mark it clearly in all areas of the city of Wichita, that there's road work ahead. Because here's the picture right now, 9th Street, the 9th Street Health Department, it still looks like a war zone.
It does, it does. Road work ahead signs, that's basic, we'll get that addressed, and you're right, we need to make sure we're obviously consistent. I mean, there's a MUTCD, everybody knows what the MUTCD is, right? The manual and uniform traffic control devices. That's the federal guidance, that's what we have to abide by. The two things that bother me is if we don't have road work ahead signs, or the other thing that bothers me even more is when we get lazy contractors with bad inspection that have put those, they're called advance warning for a reason, they were supposed to give you advance warning. They put those advance warnings, they're working in the work zone, they get done with the work zone, they put all of their cones up on the curb, but the advance warning that they had to walk down further to get to, they don't take that down. So you're driving along, and it says road work ahead, it says left lane closed, so you're fighting to get over the right lane, only to find out they're both open.
And that's rampant.
Yeah, that false
Here's
positive,
my
as they
thing,
say in medicine.
Councilman Brandon Johnson, my thing is that I can go just a block, 2 blocks, a mile, let's say, away. It's only in the inner city District 1, low income areas where, like, for an example, on 9th and Hillside. So you got Central, you got the hospital, you got from I-35 on going to Hillside on 9th Street, it's just chaotic. But you go right over to where Wichita State is, if there's construction work going on, and it's beautiful and visible and you can know what's going on. It bothers me that perhaps those construction people are like, oh, I hate to say this, but it's like, oh, these people, it won't matter what we do over here, but we'll do it right when we get on further down the road. And just a real example, because I got pictures, right on 13th and Oliver, it was chaotic, but you drive on down 13th to Woodlawn, it was beautiful. And that's not even, that's less than a mile difference. And it was all on the same day. And that bothers me, and so please check into that.
I'll get with Joe and we'll look into it.
It should bother you, it bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, it's not right. Yes, sir.
I heard this the other day, the Citizens Advisory Board regarding Century 2 made a statement at the DAB 3 meeting that I wonder if you could comment on. I don't know if it impacts you. Someone said that the city doesn't like to do the more expensive maintenance on things. They're really patch friendly. They patch. And this is what happens with Century 2 apparently. You do all these little patches and eventually it's so crumbling that something dramatic has to happen. Do you find that in the public works too, that there's a lot of patching and so they put off the more expensive maintenance type activities?
We do facilities too, so we do police stations, fire stations, Century 2s and everything in between, okay? And I will tell you that yes, absolutely, streets are underfunded, facilities are underfunded. And again, both of those, we had 2 big booms in both of those areas. The first one was called World War II. It was in all the papers, you read about it, okay? We went on a building binge after World War II, and we have assets we built then that we are still patching longer than they should have been able to live, but they're still living. The second big boom was urban renewal. Everybody remembers urban renewal from the 1960s, okay? A lot of federal money came in, we built a lot of things, all in a relatively short period of time. And again, all those things are not as long-lived as the World War II capital assets, but they're all dying at the same point in time. So we've got this double whammy of locally funded responsibility for repair and replacement on federally funded initial construction that has just caused us to get real good. I like to say we're gonna buy better quality duct tape because we're gonna be using a lot of it. Okay, so let's get some colors. This is next, and then you're next after that. Oh, sorry. Wait, excuse me, I'm at 1, 2, 3. I got 1, 2, and 3, I can't go any further than that, so, number 1, yes, sir.
Okay, so mine kind of bags up twofold. I believe water runoff and sewer here probably, are there two separate departments in here?
It's all public works and utilities, so
Okay.
bring it up.
They always bring parks and everybody else in, but we got, stormwater runoff and stuff that goes, maybe to drain into our creeks and stuff, and then we have sewer. So a lot of these areas in here and these homes, you're right, they've been put in years and years ago. The sewer system was put in years and years ago, and the drainage, how it drains to those, carries it out to the canal, anywhere else it goes. They've always been there the same. They haven't changed, rerouted, or anything, those things. But we add more stuff to our, the more construction we have, more people flushing in here, more roots getting into the lines over all the years and stuff in here. So I guess I'm trying to see, how do we prioritize, how do we put, oversight into the people who are building in here? Because when she talks about her area down here, in the hydraulic and that, they're in the new flood zone. They weren't before. So that's, everything, you say gravity is running downhill. So if you got all these apartment complexes and stuff that are running along Woodlawn, and 10,000 more people flushing stools and running water, and I got sewer lines that's been put in 1955, and it's probably corroded and stuff in here. It's a capacity issue in here, so how do we prioritize going back in, looking at those things, and even, oversight, looking at them, to make sure that we're not having, and creating more problems? It's like a funnel, you get down here, it doesn't change, and you keep pouring more into it, it's just gonna trickle. Pretty soon, it's gonna overflow the funnel because it can't get it out.
Shouldn't the builder be responsible for paying for some of that?
Well,
When they put in an apartment building like what you're talking about?
The oversight is gonna come from your government.
Okay, let's talk, and you've mixed the wastewater from
Well, I
the
thought you
sanitary. That's okay, but the answers have to be separated. In terms of the stormwater, the rainwater, okay, the cardinal rule, the guidance is, there was, before we got here, before we developed anything, before we built anything, there was a natural way that the water ran across the land. There was a rate and a direction and a path that it followed. As you develop, developers are required, as they make any improvements, to not impact what water is running off that site to any more than what it was in that pre-developed area site. Because otherwise, you're right, somebody lives downstream, and that funnel's a good analogy, it keeps getting worse and worse.
So I'm gonna give you an example of here, because I watched the flood thing last thing. And so when you talk about from, Chip Trail Creek, that winds down and drains into there, that used to be, a lot of those homes used to be, including mine, was in a 100-year flood zone. We're out of it now. But a lot of things changed, so behind me, where you have those apartments over there on 29th and Oliver, that was a flood zone area here. And so the developer, nobody could hardly develop anything, but what they did, the developers brought in more dirt, built that area up, so that they were above the triangulation here for the flood zone in here. So a lot of developers are looking at those avenues, but it did create more runoff.
Well, when a development brings in soil to raise to get above the flood elevation so that they don't have to have the flood insurance, when they do that, they have to calculate, but how much area did you take up of where the water would be flowing? Because the water isn't gonna be flowing once you built your island. And so you've gotta account for that. And
They're accounting with it. We put in a retention pond. Well, I'll tell you,
Yes.
this pond's about a foot and a half, 2 foot deep.
Right.
I can show you how it's been overrun over the years, and we don't keep the creeks and those things cleared out, because the big problem we had before was not the tributary creeks to Chisholm Trail, but the creek itself. When it goes to those ports down there and drops in there, 4 ports, entry ports, 2 of them was plugged up. And so that means that oversight and making sure we're taking care of these things has to happen. And they open those ports up, it flows, but I can tell you, had they not, we'd have some real issues in here. And so would these people down here.
Okay, number 2 and number 3. No, number 2 and number 3 are already spoken for. Let me clear these. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just have a question. When you do, what do you call it? When you put the little patches in, is there guidelines for how high they're supposed to be?
Right.
Or,
Let's talk about temporary patching and permanent patching. When we do temporary patching, like right after a freeze thaw or rains, there'll be potholes that'll pop up everywhere. You probably think you've seen a lot of potholes in Wichita. Well, I will tell you that in an average year, as a city, we do emergency temporary patching of potholes, 50,000 a year. 60,000 not uncommon, 70,000 will hit in a bad year. That's a lot of locations. Those are strictly emergency temporary patches. They represent the fact that we've gotta make permanent repairs, but we can't afford to do it all at one moment, so we do the temporary repairs. In terms of the permanent repairs that we make, and this issue of how high, how low, this is a balancing act. As we're doing the repair, we're compacting the soil, okay? We're compacting the soil and we're then putting the pavement on top of that, but it doesn't turn out perfect. There's still gonna be some differential settlement. Now, the pavement that we're not disturbing, it's already set, so it's not gonna move anywhere, but this area where we've been working is still dynamic, it's gonna change. So what the design intent is, that it's gonna be a little high in the beginning, and over the weeks that, after the work is done, it's gonna get to level. If we start level on day one, then we got years of boom, too low. Okay, that's the short answer. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, the pool house in College Hill is under, the Public Works.
Yes, ma'am.
And
We
they
don't
did.
we don't teach the swimming, but we take care of the pool house.
Yeah, well, and we appreciate that, thank you. I've understood, there's the trim, the exterior trim, was done with interior pine molding that then was painted. And so now it looks like it's melting. It's, anyway, it
Sounds
wasn't
either
the
set or
appropriate-
artistic, depending on how you.
Yes,
look at it.
exactly, but it wasn't, is there somebody that we can contact that we can work with to make sure that we're putting up, even using architectural salvage materials, which is really good exterior grade stuff, and then work to get things done correctly? Cause the building is falling apart because our patching was subpar. And so, is there a contact that I can get who does exterior work on buildings?
Yes.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Use me for your comment, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
cause I'll get it to the right place.
Thank you.
All right, that was number 3. Now I'm gonna get 1, 2, 3. That's all I can do, 1, 2, 3. And eventually we're gonna stop for lunch, so.
Yeah, Joe, in the past, I've gotten notices from the city about your sewer line, about roots and things growing into it. They'll go get somebody to roll the root to come root. Are you guys still sending those notices out?
You talking about for your sewer line?
Yeah, for anybody's.
Well, yeah, but I mean, are you talking about the city sewer line or your private sewer line?
Well, private sewer line in the city, I guess, I just say that.
Okay, well, we don't send notices on the private sewer lines, we send notices on
On
the
the
city.
city, okay, well, are you still doing that?
Yes, when we go through and do certain cleaning techniques, we need you to make sure that you're, taking a little bit of precaution so that we don't inadvertently, cause sewage to come up into your property, so we'll send notices out when we're doing those cleanings, depending on what cleaning technique we're
But
using.
Joe, you have to tell them a lot of times that trees, roots growing under the sidewalk. So what determines that? It's city obligation versus the owner's.
Well, and that's an important point. Our wastewater collection system, our sanitary sewage collection system, the city of Wichita owns half of that system. You folks directly own the other half of that system. So what happens from the edge of your house till you connect to the sewer main in terms of roots or infiltration of water, all those problems that you can have on your sanitary sewer connection line impacts what we have to do in terms of maintaining our collection system, and it impacts how much flow we get down at the wastewater treatment plant that has to be processed before it can be released to the environment. So yes, that's absolutely a concern. So,
And the streets. We gotta improve our street repairs, that's all I got to say.
thank
I
you.
agree with
Yes.
Harold on
All right,
that.
we got number
I'm
2 and
just
then
sorry,
number 3 is over
I'm
here.
sorry, Joe, the question continues to be the sidewalk. Whose
Okay.
responsibility is it?
Sidewalk is responsibility of the adjacent property owner.
Wow, y'all,
Okay,
that's.
we get a lot of people that call and say, my sidewalk's all beat up, it's terrible, it needs to be replaced, you need to get out of here. We go out there and we condemn the sidewalk, and then we send them a notice to repair it within 60 days, or we're gonna repair it and send you the bill. And they say, no, I didn't want that, I want you, city, to come out and take care of it.
The city
Sorry.
should pay for 'em.
State law says, well, no, State law says that the adjacent property owner is required to do it. Now, there have been programs that the city has had to do those in certain low-income neighborhoods where there's qualifying federal money to do that.
Yeah. So on that, we do have the District 1 grant, which you have to be income eligible for. You can use that for sidewalk repair. Until the money's gone, we've spent half of it. So if you know some folks who need it, let us know. Outside of that, again, it is state law that you are responsible for your sidewalk.
Owner or renter,
State law.
owner or renter. Or is
The
that
owner is
landlord?
the property owner is responsible.
Just like your side of the alley.
All right, number 2. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for what you have kinda turned around, because
Don't give me too much credit.
with urban sprawl, or spoil, whatever,
Sprawl?
sprawl,
Got
yeah.
it.
Spoils a good word.
Yeah.
Spoil, yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You were building streets to nowhere, and that money should have been put into the inner city, and it wasn't. And even now, the mindset is fix those streets and resurface them and repave them, because they're in better condition than the ones inner city. And you guys have started looking at inner city streets and started doing something about them, instead of just kicking the can down the road and saying, hey, we'll get to them when we get to them. So thank you for that, and thank you guys for at least recognizing the fact that these streets here need to be fixed worse than the ones that you're fixing to nowhere. Thank you.
Can I get an amen? All right, number 3 was over here somewhere. Oh, Lonnie, I think it was you, yeah.
As far as capacity goes, the fixtures that use less water has really been compensated. For instance, our faucets and showers, we used to get 10 to 12 gallons per minute. Now they're only 2.5 gallons per minute. We used to have 3.5 gallon toilets. Now they're only 1.2. So when we're having building, I don't think we're needing bigger lines.
Yeah, let me talk about that just a second, because this is something that's not important until it shows up. Future water supply. For the next 50 years, because of exactly the impacts that Lonnie Wright was talking about, and the more water efficient appliances that we have, for the next 50 years, we don't need any new water supplies for the city of Wichita and our customers, except in severe drought. And so the water supply planning that we're doing is laser focused on that severe drought issue.
I didn't think about this, I'm not exactly sure how to talk about it, but we're really concerned with the stormwater runoff, and we're also really concerned with drought. Is there any possibility of converting some of our parking lots and creating a way to retain some of that water? Because our parking lots do so much runoff, and we've done all this building, and there's so much runoff that's what we're having to deal with. Is there any way of helping that go into the soil and naturally go into the aquifer?
I have a follow-up question that's exactly on what she's talking about. And it's, cause I'm from a tree hugger area, right? So I'm from Seattle. And so in Seattle, they have encouraged people when they redo their driveways to use permeable pavers. Me too. So, and then also they because it's one of those things, it's more expensive to do it, right? But people wanna do it really well. So they also then give people a little bit of money to build like, retaining dealios under their driveway or in their yard so that they can hold their runoff rainwater and then use it for their sprinklers instead of potable city, cause how stupid is that, right? So, but we all want green grass. So, are there any chances that we can help our own runoff issues by supplementing people's green efforts to do things in their homes, like permeable pavers, shutting, then finish, thank you, shutting.
Your answer.
Huh?
Is your answer from that?
My answer, okay, yes.
Let's get something going on it.
We have started, first of all, I want you to understand what that does. It absolutely reduces rainwater runoff, it absolutely improves the infiltration. If you have a well on your property for lawn watering, then it's helpful. If you're talking about the water you're gonna drink out of the tap, it's not helpful because we have a different source of water supply for our wells. Okay? But it still makes great sense, and it is something that we've begun to do on some projects on a pilot basis. I will tell you, the issue about long-term cost, not the initial cost just, but the long-term cost, gets back to everything we've been talking about the total life cycle cost of ownership, that those out costs are the ones that are the least funded when you're doing projects. So we gotta really be careful about creating, porous pavement has to periodically be vacuumed. What did he say? Did he say porous pavement has to be vacuumed? Yes, that's what he said. The reason it's porous is it's got pores in it. Those pores fill up over time with fine debris. They've got to be vacuumed back out so that it doesn't become non-porous pavement.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
So,
So,
is there a way to look at the pilot project?
yes, the closest one, Herman Hill Park. Who's heard of the Herman Hill ride? Some of you are old enough.
I've seen it.
Okay, go down to Herman Hill Park to the water center, and we've got permeable pavement that's on display down there in the little parking lot right next to the water center.
They've got permeable pavement at the Franklin Wright House. too.
Okay, yeah, again, it's not unique. There are rain gardens. We do rain gardens and swales as a part of our city road projects, and those are invisible. I mean, it looks like the city did a bad job. Look at that, they got water ponding there on the side of the roadway. They couldn't even get a ditch in there that would drain properly. No, that's by design.
Excuse me, if I email you at this email address, can I get that lead information?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
I'll get the lead out as soon as I get to work. No extra charge. Is the party almost over? Thank you. Thank you for your interest in our community.
Awesome. Can we give Mr. Pager another round of applause? All right. So now I've got some updates for you. I have tried 5 times to get through updates. Straight. Let's see if I can do it this time. All right. So, first off, on Monday, we will have our district advisory board meeting. That's at 6 o'clock here at Atwater. And the Century 2 committee will be here. So they'd love to hear from you, and you can also hear from them kind of what they've been researching and what they found out. Again, that's 6 o'clock on Monday. Love to have you here at the DAB board. Recently, in the Northeast Heights Neighborhood Association, we were looking at a neighborhood planning for the entire neighborhood. And that was spurred because of 21st and Oliver, the northwest corner. And we now have some points of direction to give to planning. So right now that's gonna go to advanced planning, the Advanced Planning Committee, which will meet on Thursday, January 10th this year. The meeting begins at 10:30 a.m. in the large conference room on the 2nd floor of the Ronald Reagan Building, which is at 271 West 3rd Street, across from City Hall to the south. So again, that meeting is gonna be what came from the planning meetings we had. We had 3 of them, I believe. And what came from that will go to advanced plans for them to hear, vote on, and then that will go to the planning commission. If they adopt it, then it comes to the council. So with that, the neighborhood was able to give some insight into if it was to go from residential to commercial, what all they would like to see. And we know that the neighborhood would prefer to keep that residential, but that I probably don't have enough to stop that. So if it was to go commercial, then the types of businesses they would like to see. Recommendations were made, and one of the points was about flooding. We were able to add that in so that Public Works and the Planning Commission would know about that. On that last point, I've also talked with Public Works, not Mr. Pager, but Alan King, the director, about flooding in the Northeast Heights Neighborhood Association. They will be looking into that, and as I get reports back, I'll let the Neighborhood Association know and report back to you all about that as well. Next, the aquatics plan that we've been talking about for a year now. We're in the final stages of design work on what those look like. Again, there was 3 options, not to go over all of that, but the first option, which is the current approved plan, is 3 regional water parks and 1 neighborhood pool, which is College Hill Pool. The District 1 Regional Water Park didn't have a location. We could never agree on that. Option 2 was a big $10 million water park, like Derby's, but bigger, located at McAdams. And then option 3 left 6 swimming pools open. I haven't memorized those, but McAdams was one of them. And it kind of gave a facelift to it and some mechanical upgrades. I have requested additional funds from McAdams because in talking to our young people, although we adults love swimming pools, they want some form of water park with fun amenities and all of that cool stuff. And right now we're working on that. The extra $500,000 I requested, I've seen some designs, makes that a cool pool. The issue at hand right now is, in looking at competitive swimming, McAdams was actually the best pool for that. And the improvements that I said the young people want would change that up a bit. So we're trying to figure out what those designs look like. I had hoped to have that for you today, but again, that's an ongoing conversation. Hopefully I'll be able to show you that next month or March at the latest, but we are working on that. Before I get to the neighborhood grants, Tuesday is an important day. So Tuesday, we will select a new vice mayor. Vice Mayor Fry's time is up. Vice mayor rotates every year. We will also thank council member / commissioner-elect Meixner for his service. And the next day, he'll be sworn in as a county commissioner. If you've got jokes for him, show up, say those, because we will be joking with, we have been since he won, but we're gonna keep it up Tuesday. It was asked about earlier. We will be making a decision on your 2019 water and sewer rates. What was presented initially to the city will likely not happen. Those were extreme increases. We've been working really hard on making sure that there are minimal increases extended over a longer period of time. So with that, your bill won't go up as much as what we were initially projecting. This water sewer treatment plant, that's not coming up Tuesday. As you all know, we went from what had initially been a competitive process into a new design competition that the mayor wanted to see happen. So we're looking to see what that looks like going forward. I don't have much updates on you on that because I haven't heard a report of what that looks like and when the RFP is going out. But I will let you know when that happens. So that will happen, but that's separate from these 19 water and sewer rates. We will also on Tuesday find a solution to the ice rink, the Wichita Ice Center. And we will select a new council member for District 2. So if you've been watching the news, there's 5 candidates up. All the council except for me and Blue Ball have met with them. Me and Blue Ball meet with them Monday, so I'll meet with every candidate. You can shoot us an email, let us know what you think if you know the candidates. I will personally give more weight to people in District 2 because that's their representative, but let us know what you think. I do read all of those emails. I can pause there for questions if you have them. No questions? All right, we'll keep going. January 10th is also a housing social media town hall. So if you are on social media, changes to housing, priorities, all of that will be on January 10th. And I think you can just get on our City of Wichita /government Facebook page and it'll be on there, but also YouTube and Twitter if you're on those. We talked about 9th Street earlier, so I think I told you in December that was supposed to be done before Christmas. As you can see, it's not. But I was told that the cold and holidays kind of slowed down the progress with some of the concrete getting poured, but it should be done pretty soon as far as construction. Again, the whole project won't be done until later in the spring because there's some artistic elements that will go up and that's not gonna happen while it's cold out. So probably sometime in April, the whole project will be done. And we're waiting on KDOT to give final approval to painting the pillars under 135. We had some back and forth and disagreement early on. I think I was sworn in on the 8th, and by the 15th, I was talking to the federal level about that. So we had to get approvals from top down rather than just making that happen. But our new governor, I think, can help that out because the election kind of paused some of that as well. Comments were made about the budget. As Mr. Pager said, we are putting $1 million technically more in than last year, but $1 million less than what was supposed to be, so that we could save quality of life amenities. On that point, I will always stress, we are, as a city, we have been very proud of the fact that we have not raised a mill levy in 25 years. And if you like that sort of thing, then we are doing an awesome job. But if you wanna see these facilities upgraded, if you know the strains that we're under as a city, we need to have some other forms of revenue. And in that same 25 years, and I always use the same example, we went from cell phones that were about half the size of this thing to a device in the palm of your hand that you can talk to anybody around the world. Things are changing. Costs are going up, technology is changing, and we're not improving our facilities as much as we could. Public Works talked about the lack of maintenance. In the recession that we had, we went to this deferred maintenance plan, and you walk into Mac Adams on a 100-degree day into that gym, you're gonna be sweating. We don't have updated AC. Wi-Fi is spotty, even in here. And we had some upgrades, but I get cut off Wi-Fi all the time in here. Cell phone signals getting through these dense buildings. So we need some upgrades. Some of our facilities just need to be torn down and rebuilt. But that won't happen under our current budget constraints. So again, if we like how things are going, then great. Send us all an email and say, great job. But if you know that we need these upgrades, and I'm one of those that believe so, right now I'm in the minority, then we need new revenue. And to me, that's a mill levy increase. One thing that we also need to consider, although it is regressive, but I know it'll come up because I've been hearing a lot about it in the community. At some point, somebody's gonna put a sales tax referendum on the ballot. You can say no to that, and we'll have the budget that we have now. Or you can demand as a community that quality of life gets taken care of, and that's what it's for, therefore we all benefit. Again, that's gonna be up to you. You can go either way, but that's kind of where we are right now.
So we need to email city council and say, raise the mill levy?
How do we go about doing that? Because it's been mentioned over and over again to the council, and they sort of, you know, when they were cutting the fire department and downtown, all the stuff. But there was, how do we go about getting a mill levy?
Now that I've been in office, and I never believed any elected official that said it to me, but now that I've been in office, we did not get that many emails. Seriously.
That was a kicker, okay, just so we.
I mean, it's a talking point, so when you hear someone say, well, you know, I've only got 3 emails about it, that's true. And I was blown away by that. So it's the thing of, one, folks have to email, folks have to call. You gotta show up not only to our meetings, but set meetings up with us, and make some noise about it out in the community. I mean, it is an election year. So people are listening, and if we can raise up some talking points about it, then maybe it gets addressed.
Do you have that email in your head that goes to the entire city council and some of the staff?
DL City Council members at wichita.gov. That goes to every council member and the mayor. I always encourage you to add on R. Layton at wichita.gov, so it goes to the city manager. It's always in our best interest, no matter what our issue, to email every council member, not just the one that represents you, to get that point out there. Jan.
On this new Supreme Court, decision about them being able to tax cell phone usage and stuff like that, how much income do you think the city is gonna be generated should they decide to tap into that?
I have not read that decision, so I don't know yet.
Because they said it's legal to tap into those revenues, that we were losing because of cell phone usage and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I know that the Supreme Court did say that we can now recoup sales tax revenue, but that's up to the state legislature. And I know our Senator Fausto Doe is gonna help us out on that, but again, the city of Wichita loses, I believe, about $2.5 to $3 million a year in lost sales tax revenue to sites like Amazon and things like that. So hopefully we can, get the legislature to approve that, and then we can collect that. And again, that's not raising your taxes, that's something that you're already paying, but the city can then recoup what's coming out of Wichita.
Well, we're all supposed to pay that tax, you're supposed to pay that tax, but it's a box you have to figure out on your own, and, yeah, not many people do that.
Yeah. I saw another hand. Now I'll finish up. Man, this is awesome. I'm getting through it. All right, WSU Tech funding is available, and there's a flyers in the back. This is online as well. I've been sharing it on Facebook. Thanks to funding that was from the sale of the Hyatt, we have committed $75,000 towards WSU Tech. As you can see from that flyer, 64 people out of District 1 were awarded this scholarship. And these are opportunities for jobs at our biggest employers like Spirit and Textron. So what I've been trying to do is share this out. If you live in District 1, you're unemployed, underemployed. My definition of underemployed is less than $12 an hour. This is an opportunity to get 8 weeks of training and go make $55,000 a year. That's life-changing, and we've had people do that already. So the intent of those funds were to help improve this district, and that is some life-changing opportunity for you now. That program is ongoing. So again, if you're looking for a job at Spirit or Textron or one of those suppliers, this is an opportunity for you. Although there are some FAA restrictions at Spirit, they may stop you from getting a job if you have a felony background. The suppliers down chain will hire you. So we've had people with felony backgrounds get those jobs as well. So again, that's an opportunity. We've got flyers back there, but tell any and everybody that lives in District 1 who really needs that help, especially if they're unemployed, this is an opportunity to change their life. And again, it's 8 weeks. The West Star polls, as many of you know, that was an issue here. We are awaiting to hear back from West Star this month. So there was a committee, I was on that committee, and we met 3 times. We were charged with going out to the community, getting more input, and bringing that back to West Star for them to look at the feasibility. We had some really robust discussions in there. A lot of great ideas came from that and from the community. We submitted all of that to West Star, and right now they are looking at cost, feasibility, sustainability. The point that they made was that they wanted to make sure if they made an investment, it was sustainable and impactful. So not just throwing West Star's logo on some flowers or something, but doing something that was gonna be impactful in the community that was affected. So we should hear back from them this month. I've told them as well, I'd like, once they meet with the committee, once again, to update us, I wanna have a community meeting where we put that out so we can invite people in. There's still more people who have concerns, and I'll also host another meeting here, so we just wanna get out there. And if it's not snow and ice on the ground or below 30, I'll probably go knock some doors too. But hopefully the weather will keep up and we can get that out. And neighborhood grants, again, those are still available. We haven't ran out of money. So sidewalk repair, tree trimming, deed work, something else that I can't remember right now. You have an opportunity up to $1,500, special projects, up to $1,500 to get some of those funds and do something for the community. We've been trying to look at folks, lower income, who have sidewalks marked that cannot afford to get those fixed, to try to let them know, hand them an application. It's up to them to fill it out, but let them know you can get this to help fix that sidewalk. So those are available. The deed work is important, so if you've inherited some property and you can't afford an attorney to figure out all of the legal limbo to get that property, you can use this grant for that as well. And I guess my last
Is that
update.
grant information on your table too?
Yes, we have applications back there, and you can always call up here or come up here. We've got them at the front desk, talk to Camila. She can get you squared away on that. I always prefer you come in, because we can follow up with you. If you download it off the website, we don't know who you are, but we have reached back out. I say we, Camila, and I think Giselle or Julie has reached back out to folks who come in just to see, where they are with that. My last update is in 2019, and Janet came and visited the council about this a little bit. I had been looking into it, but I wanted to do some more research, and I'm still researching, but we're gonna look into slumlords. in the community.
My goodness.
So we, I've been looking at what happened with the blight bill in Topeka. I've got some research now on when some of this work started back in 2007. So I'm trying to figure out where we fell short, what the issues were. I've seen a big deal about eminent domain, trying to figure out why that even came up. But in that, I've knocked too many doors where someone is living in housing that, to me, they shouldn't be in, paying $700 a month when they can own a house, brand new, from like Habitat for less than that. And I hear about landlords that aren't upgrading their property. Some purposely just to save their own money, and some have aged out. You know, it's not always a bad thing. Some folks have gotten older and just can't take care of it. And we need to figure out a way to deal with that. So that's something I'm looking into. That's not something that may happen in 2019, but it is something that I'm looking into and trying to find community partners and neighborhood folks, just to kind of give some more insight and see how we can work together to address that. Because I don't think anybody should live in substandard housing, no matter your income level.
Can you also, on the backside of that, since I am a landlord, I'm not a slumlord, but can you also find some way in there to hand out some information to the people who do rent and have them change their mindset? Because those houses sometimes start out to be beautiful, and at the end of the day, they get in there and bust the hell out of them, okay?
So I forgot.
I've seen people living in roach infested, and that had no roaches in them. I've seen people kids living on floors, and those houses, the carpets were beautiful, and they're now black because they're sleeping on the floors.
Right.
So I think as you talk about changing the landlord, you gotta also talk about, and this is the part we miss all the time, is that we will not offend that tenant, we won't offend the family. And if you don't fix those families, no matter how much money you put over here, it don't matter, if you don't fix the culture of the neighborhood, it don't matter how much money you throw in here, it ain't gonna change. It's gonna go back to the same old crap that it was.
Right.
So if you're gonna go out, not attack, but if you're gonna address the landlords, and address the tenants that live in the house and tell them they can live a better life if they chose to do.
Right. So on that, what we were looking at, I wasn't gonna get that detailed in what I just said, but, our committee will be full of property owners, landlords, as well as tenants and other groups. And we're gonna try to find a way to balance out holding landlords accountable as well as making sure those properties are upkept. So I've talked to a few landlords in the community already that, to me, have a really good standard of making sure the house is livable. They've talked to me about some of those problem tenants that they've had and ways that we can educate people. And one of the first things that they said was finding funds to have those booklets ready, or working with a Mennonite Housing or Power CDC to get into those tenant classes so you can learn how to be a good tenant. So that's something that can definitely come up, and I think at the table, if we're all together at that point, we can find a way to service all of those needs. And again, some of those tenants that may have never known or grew up, I always use this example financially. I never knew how to save money or anything. That wasn't something me and my mom talked about. I learned later how to write a hot check. I didn't know it was illegal. But when I had folks really show me the right way and give me that information, I learned how to do the right thing. So I think if we get people who have been a part of that, not necessarily being the best tenant, but we can get them in some educational spaces, we can change that as well.
If I could add to that, I want to say two things. Previously, I worked with Department of Corrections. I actually used to go into prison and teach tenant rights and responsibilities so people would understand their rights living in homes. And currently, I facilitate the workshop for Habitat for Humanity of being a good neighbor. And we go over all the rules and conditions of you being a good neighbor and getting to know your neighbor. So there are curriculums out there that are being used.
One of the things that I've done in the past, I haven't done it recently because our newsletter, we don't have money for anymore to do it as big as we used to. I have a copy of the Landlord-Tenant Act, and I put in different sections of that Landlord-Tenant Act in the newsletter every month for people who are tenants. So they knew what to expect of their landlords and what their rights were. That could be done the opposite way, but the number of landlords in the neighborhood is probably not as big as the number of tenants. But we actually had a high school teacher who took that and used that as classroom material and taught her students. And now those kids will be good renters because they know what to expect and they know that they need to be treated with respect.
Right.
It's actually actually online and it's 25 pages, and so you can link it and share it if you use any form of electronic email or website, but you can view it online. You can literally Google Kansas Tenant Responsibility Act.
Mr. Barnes.
Maybe some of you others recommend as well. I'm a landlord as well. You know, demographically, when you look at a lot of our neighborhoods, especially these around here, probably about 70% of these neighborhoods now, I've watched the shift, and it's gone from property owners to renters. And so you got more renters in the neighborhood than that. You got landlords that some of them buy these properties and because of something, whatever the situation, the crime with the renter getting from, if the guy gets $500-600 in rent, he got to pay $2,000-3,000 for insurance and upkeep and stuff of this nature. Property tax, he's not reinvesting a whole lot of that because he can't sell the property, he can't do anything with it, he's just wasting it out. Now, so the suggestion in here is that you might want to reevaluate in here, maybe think about that money from the HIDE, and you got here that portion that hasn't been dispersed out here for sidewalks and trees and those things in here. Maybe you ought to divvy that up, like I say, to the neighborhood associations to be able to go out here and empower them to be able to do some things in their own neighborhoods and associations in here, because they can get more information now. They can assist those people who really need it in here, but you got to get it to the hands of the people who live in those areas that can actually handle it. The landlord, he can't even apply for this here. The tenant can't apply unless you meet certain income guidelines in here. So the people you're trying to help and reach can't get access to the money. So it's just something to rethink about.
I've heard this for years. It's both, all the things need to be done. The education piece is the biggest piece. And even the one landlords were good and do what they're supposed to do, okay, you have that. But you have so many of these investment people that's huge. And I'm glad to see that you're getting some to the table. Because for years, we've been trying to get them to the table to even talk, because the whole thing, again, you go back to money, it's all about money, okay? Then you have the Section 8 program and low, well, they'll have a little different.
You're talking about people who flip houses?
That, same thing, those owners, you know, most of them are trying to sell houses to people, invested people, and not hold on to them, doing that. They've got a new trend of the investment of, yes, get them, because nobody's buying them, they're empty. You get them real cheap, you go in and you slap some paint, you put them on Section 8 or program, they lie, unfortunately. And there's no really oversight of once they're in the program, there's no follow-up, as nobody's checking it, you know. Got quite a few of them that a lot of landlords don't even come to the house. They I don't know what they're doing, I can't see or whatever. You can call, say, okay, this is happening, they don't check. I'm thankful, and the ones know me in my block now, when I call them, you either come or you won't have no property. So, you know, so they tear up. But anyway, it's everybody, and I totally agree, this education piece it just has to be done, because it's been years trying to get them to the table.
You're not in that category, don't speak. Hold on, no, you gotta follow, you gotta follow him.
I just want to say something about education.
Get off of it.
I'd like to, a testimony, if I could. About 30 years ago, I was kind of lost. I was working a dead-end job. Somebody took a minute out of their time to ask me a question. They said, Richard, what are you going to do with your life? You look like a smart guy. You dress nice. You look like you might. What are you going to do? You going to work this job all your life? And that impacted me more than all of the church sessions that I had gone to in the previous 20 years, all of the schooling that I had gone to, when one person stopped and noticed a spark in me and said, hey, you got to do better for yourself. I went ahead and I did that to 2 other people after that turnaround, and they too, bam, they got into technical training, and their lives are changed now because I recognized someone's spark. So education is important, but micro-education is critically important. If you see somebody in your neighborhood who you know is intelligent, you can see it in their eyes, the way they look, the way they carry themselves. Notice it and tell them, find the good and praise it. that can be so it was transformative to me. If that person hadn't said that to me 30 years ago, I'd be working retail right now, or God knows where I'd be. But that guy took the time to notice that, so I just wanna encourage that. It's a very powerful transformation tool.
Thank you. Ms. Carlos, and then
Getting back to the landlords, I have an issue with no trash services. And I was just wondering, could that be something done, or they could be held accountable, or providing some kind of trash services to their tenants? Maybe through the city, maybe there has to be a bill written up, everybody needs to have trash services, whether they're homeowners or landlords. They need to figure out a way to provide that trash service.
So currently, there is a city ordinance for trash service, so if you see someone without trash services, notify your neighborhood inspector, or me and Julie here at Atwater. But here's what the follow process is. They get due process. They get so many days to get trash service in the home, and if not, they will be taken to environmental court. If someone owns a duplex, or 2, 3, 4-plex, or apartment complex, the landlord is responsible for that trash service. But single homes, the landlord has discretion of putting it in or out of the lease. So regardless of who owns it, it has to have trash service. Just report it and we can follow up on it.
I've been reporting it forever, and there's still trash piled up this high.
Can you report it to me so we can have the paper trail on email? If you call me, and I will email it, keep it with us, and you can get your court dates, and you can see when court dates are. And maybe there's a trend of who isn't keeping trash service or not, and we can keep those trends written down too.
Will do, thank you.
Mr. Stiff and then Senator Fausto.
Last, to your point about neighborhoods, I have one street that I have a few houses on, and so I created a newsletter for that street. So I'm my own neighborhood watch guy. And so I have 17 kids in homes on that street with no fathers in. So I created a newsletter. I don't do it now because it's just me kicking cans and everything else, but I just wanted to see what would happen. And several of the people in the homes that I didn't know that weren't my tenants, they said, "Did you drop this off?" And they said, "Thank you for sending this out," because I had no idea, because it was full of resources. It was some motivational stuff, like you're talking about touching somebody's life just by saying hello to them. And I think as you as neighborhood watch presidents, don't just talk about the crime and all that stuff, but give them something uplifting, because you never know what that one little word can do for that young child who might pick that up that's sitting on the middle of the floor that's being used as an actor. And seriously, that stuff works. And just that one moment in time, you don't know how powerful words are. You see the kid in the street, you say, "Hey, he's doing something funny," talk to him, engage him. I had a kid on the street, he's 9 years old, sitting on his porch, nobody wanted to talk to him, his mom and dad in the house, come outside to cuss at him and yell at him. I pulled him aside and I said, "Let's read a book." I took him some books on his porch. His parents wouldn't even let me read to him, read with him. His parents, that's why I say you gotta change the culture. They wouldn't let me read to the little 9-year-old kid, just a cute little boy. They wouldn't let me read to him. Very much, I gotta go now.
That's how I met Brother Stiff. Thank you.
So to his point, this is a great day to have a city councilman, a state senator, and a county commissioner here. So over the years, I'm the ranking member of local government. So over the years, I've wanted to do what Kansas City does, Wyandotte County. They automatically implement a tax for their citizens, and everybody gets trash service. It comes straight by and picks up. So that's something we might want to look at in legislation from my point to the city to county commission to work on. One other quick point I want to make, City Councilman, maybe you can bring everybody up to Topeka on January 15th for a field trip. You can get some buses. I can help you. I can pay part of that for you out of my campaign funds. So everybody can come up to the Capitol. January 15th is People's Day at the Capitol. Last year, there were over 4,000 people that showed up at the Capitol. They will have speakers rallying for Medicaid expansion, healthcare, jobs, those issues, and educational funding, Mrs. Bostic, and housing issues. So that's a perfect time to come up there, be in the Capitol. Our session starts January 14th, and at that point, I just want to say thank you and for what you're doing. You're doing a great job as my councilman. I will be in Topeka for the next 3 months. I'll only come home to Wichita on the weekends. So you won't see me, and I wanted to come today just to say Happy New Year, and hopefully you guys can, I'm gonna carry your message back to our new Lieutenant Governor. I will be escorting him in for the State Address, Lieutenant Governor Lynn Rogers, and I'll be right beside our new Governor, Laura Kelly, and I'll pass your messages along. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I've got 2 things before we get into more questions, because we are at 11:30. The City of Wichita has a REAL initiative with NLC, National League of Cities. REAL is Race, Equity, and Leadership. And January 22nd is a National Day of Racial Healing. It will be at the Mid-American All-Indian Center, 650 North Seneca. So I'd love to have you come out to that. Being that we are at 11:30, I won't get into a whole bunch of what REAL is doing, but we are looking at racial equity in this city. There will be some community engagement to come very soon. I'll keep you all posted on that. So that's January 22nd. Then the day before, January 21st, is the MLK Day of Service at Century 2 with Habitat for Humanity. We're gonna help build 2 humanity homes, and I was told both of those homes will come to District 1. So I did it last year. It was a lot of fun. There were so many people that I only had to hammer in 3 boards, but it is fun. So you can come up there, get a hammer, help out. I did help lift one of those walls, which was heavier than I thought, but we got it into place. And then the picture on the flyer, I'm actually in that, but we assembled one of the homes. But they assemble them, when then they disassemble them down to just the flat panels. They take them out to the community, and then they build those houses. So it helps out quite a bit.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Have you or anybody that you have been looking into this, the computer building homes where they.
3D printed house?
Yeah.
So
They're
I'm
trying
not.
to move that, I mean.
I'd have to look into how efficient that is and what's the lifetime sustainability of it. I haven't looked into that. We did look into, because of the controversy, tiny homes. And when you look at square footage, they actually match up. Not tiny homes. There's tiny homes and micro mansions. Micro mansions match up with some of the houses that we have.
Tiny home
Yeah.
thing.
Tiny homes are a little bit too small
Wanna make
just to
more money.
put out, but I've looked into that. We don't know feasibility here in District 1, but we are looking at, we've still got over 150 empty lots, and we need to do something.
We talked about teenagers. I'm gonna pinpoint, I wanna thank our teenage volunteer this morning, Miss Jaya in the back. She is, her and her sister come to Atwater every day after school, get on the computer. Her mother uses our resources, and I just inboxed her on Facebook, can you help me? And she walked up here. So when you talk about making a difference in youth, I thank her. So publicly say that. Some of you picked up the job prep application out there with the YMCA's logo. If you know a teenager, 15 and 17, there's no income guideline for this. A lot of families don't qualify for other summer youth jobs because the parents make too much money. The YMCA's application is available for parents. You still circle your income and turn it in, but your youth could still receive a summer youth job through the YMCA job prep program. She told me no, but I'm saying yes. In October, we celebrated a birthday of the century for Miss Faye Leach turning 100 years old, and she's here with us today. Happy birthday again. Fairmount has a true treasure in you. We love you. Former Councilmember Levonta Williams loves you, adores you. And so we just want to say out loud again, thank you for your service to the community, her family service, and the longevity they invested in Wichita and the Fairmount area. So thank you, ma'am.
And, yeah, before Commissioner-elect Cruz says something, if you haven't noticed, on 21st and Grove, there's some new signs up. Founders Grove is now the location of the former Commerce Bank. And that should be open soon. I say that because one of the folks that will be in there is here, Ms. Christina Long in the back. So that will be a great space for entrepreneurship, business development, economic development in our community. And I'm excited that it's there and for the doors to open so I can show up with some chocolate donuts. Ms. Cruz.
Healthy eating.
That is really awesome. I saw the sign today, I was like, woo, it's very in person. But as a part of being a county commissioner, I'm so excited to get started. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm gonna really try to be at every single thing that I can possibly be at, but I'm also trying to raise 2 daughters by myself, so I'm gonna do what I can. I just wanna say this, as being a county commissioner, I get to elect people to boards. There's a lot of them, a couple that you guys might be. I have them all here. So Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Law Enforcement Training Center Joint Board, the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board. We have the Animal Control Board. I mean, there's a ton here. I'm still learning all of the sorts of the term limits of some of them. So some of them aren't up right away, but I really want your input, and I want you guys, if you want to be involved in this, let me know. So that's pretty much all I have. And then I want to create a district advisory board. So right now in District 4, we've not had, in County Commission District 4, we've not had a district advisory board for the past 8 years. I'm not sure one was previous before that. But just like District 1 has an advisory board for the city, I want to create one for the County Commission District Advisory Board. So our district for the County Commission encompasses Mays, Valley Center, Park City as well. So it will be a bigger group than what is here. But if you want to be involved in that, I'd love to have you guys in that too. So I just want to do some different things and really include a lot of different voices that maybe haven't been included before. So please reach out to me. My county email is working. I don't have access to it. But you can, I'll write it up here, but LaceyDCruz@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me now. So I look forward to working and serving with you guys.
If you're on a city council board, you can't be on a county commission board, correct?
No.
I have never asked that question.
Okay, I was told you couldn't, so, but anyway, thanks.
But you can't be on more than 2 at any one time.
Oh, okay.
On the city.
On the city.
But the county is a different jurisdiction, and we've only David Guinness has a DAB board. Jim Skelton created one when he was on. But we have had some kind of joint. But thank you for starting that way.
Alrighty, so with that, thank you all for being here this morning at the first breakfast. Our next one is the first of next month, and all of that information is on our website. I'll stay behind if you have any other questions or want to talk to me.
Okay, we have the Lynn Daniel Battery.
Mr. Roseberry.
It's off the time.
6 o'clock. PM.
Thank you all.
If anybody remembers Paul and Margaret Miller, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that's
Margaret Miller, okay, no, you're not, all right.